this session so that these recordings will be uploaded into the project webpage, and it might be as well emailed to all those participants who registered and who showed some interest to participate into the sessions, but unfortunately they were not able to join us today. Let me just share my screen quickly, and then we can start. As you might know, this session is this session is conducted under the summer school that is organized under the Printel project. And our session is devoted to the strategies to prevent academic misconduct in higher education during this emergency remote learning. A few things about myself. I am Giga. My name is Giga, and I'm currently working at Ilia State University in Tbilisi, Georgia. I've been working at this university since 2011, and currently I'm the Deputy Library Director. And besides, I'm also giving classes in academic writing and information literacy. I'm working at the Center of Academic Writing at the same university. And during these years, I've been involved in many different projects. And I'm very much involved in the training for academic staff, for professors and teachers who are in charge with the delivery of the classes. And my main role or responsibility is to help or guide them, to support them into the process of incorporating or integration the technology into the learning process. So for this reason, today's our session is oriented on that very issue that is a quite big challenge, not for the whole academic society, I would say. And after this session, we are going to have in this 1 hour the participant. I mean, by the end of this session, you will have the understanding of what the risks of how to navigate or how to avoid the risks of cheating when creating the assessment activities or activities in general for online courses. You will be able to incorporate the principles of academic integrity into online education. And also by the end of this session, I will try to demonstrate the usage of the safe exam browsing, which is a quite new function into the learning management system, and that can be used by us when we are delivering or giving the quizzes. Today's session, we will mention the distance learning and online learning, or these terms are quite blurry, but all of these experience are based on the time period of since the pandemic started. I mean, since March 2020, when all the higher education institutions were converted to emergency remote learning. So before we start, or I would like to start with this kind of activity of using the Menti to just make a brainstorming or and I would like to ask you to open the web page. It's menti.com, and put the code, and there will appear a question, and you can just type the answers. I will try to copy and paste this link into the chat so that you have it here as well. You can directly use this link, and you can use the same computer, or if you have a smartphone with you, you can just go into this web page and then use the code. The code is 81682206. And let me just try to present this one. And once you open that web page, you will see the question that is under the under this task. So I would like you to think about what type of academic misconduct have you faced or have you experienced during the emergency learning, and you can use that boxes to fill in your answers. So it can be anything that comes into your mind that is based on your practice. So we see that we already got some response. Let's wait a few more. Okay, I will keep adding people as well. So some of our colleagues are joining currently. Okay. So once again, here is this code for Menti, and you can use that to put your answers. The question is what type of academic misconduct, or it can be a forms of academic misconduct, you experienced during this emergency learning. I mean, after the pandemic started or since the pandemic started. So we've got two answers: it's cheating and sleeping students. Okay, that's a bit funny, but yeah, it happens that sometimes students are sleeping, but yeah, that's more an ethical issue rather than a misconduct. So we've got these bad technologies. I mean, this is a problem that is related to the usage of different tools or systems and the lack of knowledge from the side of students. Switching off cameras, no attention, joining from the bed. Yeah, so these. Again, once again, here we have the mixture of ethical and cheating problems. So, like that, like this lack of motivation is also a bit serious factor that appears. But as we see, so lower activity. Speaking with somebody, okay, that's something that is very crucial, I would say, because sometimes even if we have the oral presentations in order to decrease the risk of cheating, we notice that someone is behind their computers and we hear the sound. So this is something that is also quite often, that happens quite often. Okay, so we have once again, so I let me just refresh it so to get all these answers from the participants. Yeah, thank you for your participation, and it was just an introduction, or how to say, the first step before we start the discussing about the main topic of our session. And the main topic, as you have noticed, is how can we ensure that students are doing assignments by themselves. If you remember, when we all converted to online teaching back in March 2020, the number one question was how to conduct the classes online. And I remember lots of my colleagues from different universities, they were asking and trying to find the best solution, how to conduct the classes online. But this was rather the first step, I mean, and the next step was how to assess students and how to assess their learning outcomes and how to make ourselves sure that what they are doing by themselves. So this is a challenge that is not problem. That is a problem not only for example, Georgia or Belarus, but not only for the Eastern European countries or but for the whole world, I would say, and for the developed countries as well. So today, no one can give you an answer to this question. So there is no fully, guaranteed tool or systems that can 100% avoid this kind of problems. But there are some tools and techniques that works, and some combination of the tools that can decrease the chances, and that can that we can also use. So I would like to start with the definition of academic integrity, this term, because I pretty much like this definition, which I brought from the Glossary of European Network for Academic Integrity. And they define this as a compliance with the ethical and professional practices and standards. And this is something that we tried our best to give our students even before the pandemic started. So in higher education institutions, they do a lot to change the culture or attitude of their students, and to explain them why the principles of academic integrity are crucially important. But we didn't really had chance before that to assess what was the situation currently at our institutions. And once the pandemic started, it turned out that our students are alone in front of their computers, and we are not able to fully check whether they are doing something with integrity or not. So this is the very special moment, and from where we start to understand how well do we explain what are the principles of academic integrity and why it is necessary for them to meet these principles. As you mentioned during this brainstorming or with using this Menti, you also named the types and forms of academic misconduct, and I also put here some major types and forms, which I'm pretty sure that everyone is familiar with, and everyone has experienced at least one from this list. So when we speak about the academic misconduct, the majority of the association that comes into our mind are connected to the plagiarism. That was our experience before the pandemic, because the majority of the institutions were oriented or had these sanctions, developed sanctions and services and tools regarding the plagiarism and the prevention of the plagiarism cases. But plagiarism is only one form of academic misconduct, and there is many others. There are many others, like cheating. Students could cheat during the face-to-face classes before the pandemic started. We had these cases of cheating students during the exams, or during the presentations, even when they had the group work that they have to deliver. But here comes another type of the academic misconduct, which are identified or met on the upper level of the study. I mean, if we have cases of plagiarism and cheating on the bachelor's level, on the master's level, and on the PhD level, you might detect the fabrication of the research data. And this is when students do not conduct the research, but they just pick up some numbers and stating that they conducted some research, and then start discussion about those numbers. So this is also, and it is not easy to detect this kind of misconduct. But we quite often have this type of misconduct. Also, there is non-authorized collaboration. This and it means when student asks for help to their relatives, friends, I don't know, the former teachers or whatever, whoever when they have quizzes, mainly they ask someone either to write these quizzes or to help them during the writing process itself. Also, there is a contract cheating that is a problematic issue. And although there was this kind of facts before the pandemic, but it was not that serious, I would say. For if we take the case and the example of Georgia, we knew that these kind of services existed, but during the pandemic, some of the organizations are promoting themselves into the social media and trying to get their users. So I mean, they have the price list of how much an essay cost or how much the quiz or and final paper cost and etc. So we see a lot of companies promoting themselves into the social media groups and offering their help or support to students if they pay for this. Also, one of the type of the academic misconduct is a false quotation. In this, we mean when a student is writing an essay or a thesis, for example, and they have quote, but instead of giving the right author or indicating the right author, they are just pick up some author and give this reference. But if you check it, then you can identify that this source doesn't exist. So I'm familiar with this kind of cases when this was identified. So, and as you can see, we have 3 dots here, the last, and it is not by mistake, because this is only the list, and this list is not complete. So there are many other types of academic misconduct that university or that can be identified or detected in higher education institution. Also, it depends on the cultural or social economical background of the society, and the list might be vary from country to country, but here I just wanted to gather the major types and forms of academic misconduct. And when we speak about these different types of academic misconduct, we need to think about the reasons as well. Why do students cheat? So what is the reason that some of our students try to cheat or try to avoid writing their assignments? And if you look on the research that is conducted about this issue, we can get this list of the reasons what the students are identifying as a reason why why they cheat. So the number one is the fear of failure. So students declare that they have a fear of failure in a concrete subject, and for this reason they are trying to cheat, or they are trying to ask help to another person. Also, the desire to get better grades. So sometimes there is a competitive atmosphere in the classes, and as for myself, I have noticed it with the medical students. So students from the medical faculty, that they in addition to their grades, they also check the grades of their classmates, and they have this kind of competition, and they would like to get better grades. So But some students also say that the lacking information about the academic integrity is the reason for them to cheat. As they say, they do not have enough information about the principles of academic integrity. They do not know how the university or the institution is coping with these principles. What are the tools that the teachers are using to detect these kind of cases, and what is the sanction? So this is something that I just put in this way, that lack of information about the academic integrity, this can be a reason as well. Also, the content and the form of instruction. When it comes to online learning, it's crucially important that when we design an activity, whether it is an assessment or just a forum activity, maybe, in any case, we need to think about to formulate the instruction as simple as possible, because in distance learning or in online learning, in this case, students do not have teachers with them. They only have their computers and the instruction that is given, and they do not, they cannot ask questions, they cannot go deeper. So that's crucially important that once you design the instruction, it should be very clear, so that everyone understands it easily. Also, the lack of support services at the university. In these support services, they mean the academic support services, like how to reference, how to make the list of the references, how to quote properly, or how to use the academic style in a way. So these are the questions that, or the topics that the student needs support. And once we moved on into the distance learning format, then these services need also to be transferred. I know that a lot of universities are providing these services, or we are providing those services when it was this face-to-face teaching, but once we transferred to online, then those services has to be transferred as well in order to enhance the quality of teaching and learning. And one of the reason also is the practice of not punishing others, and this is a serious issue. And I always keep repeating this to my colleagues at our universities, that even so, if we do not use the sanction in one case, then the next day, every student will know about it, and they will have the feeling that the university is not sanctioning those cases, and this might cause a serious problem. And also the tools are used in online learning. Sometimes this can also be a reason why the students are cheating, also, although it does not directly means that. But imagine that you have an assignment activity where you ask your students to write an essay. And if you tell them that they have to send it via email to your personal email, of course, they will start thinking that it will be easy to cheat in this format. So otherwise, on the contrary, you can ask them to upload them into the learning management system, where you use this plagiarism detection software or whatever, and they might think about that they will be detected. So these are the reasons what students are declaring as a reason that that brings them to this to cheat during their studies. But here I would like to stress about the types of the academic misconduct, which is common in distance learning. So the number one is sharing information in social media groups, and we did not have this type of misconduct before the pandemic. Once we were converted to the distance education, we found out that the students are using all kinds of social media, and they have groups created by themselves, and they gather their classmates in those groups, and they share information very simple and easy way and very quickly. So if one of the students just makes a screenshot of the exam, then he or she will post it into this social media group and everyone will know it very quickly. So this is something that is very common practice that we faced during this time. Also asking for support to another person, and we discussed these cases. I remember one of my colleagues who told me this, that he was offered some amount of money in order to write an exam for a student from another higher educational institutions. So I would like to mention this because those and other people are not only the relatives, friends, and former teachers, but also they can hire, I mean, students can pay for instructors from different institutions. Also, the very common is to make a screenshots, and this might be an issue if you are using the quizzes and if you use the question bank. So imagine that you have this midterm exam and you had this quiz, and what happens is that students are making the screenshots and they are using those screenshots for the final exam as well. So in this case, I always advise to academic staff to update the question banks to make sure that those questions are updated and the number of the questions are increased. The contract cheating that we also mentioned is an issue, and it's not easy to detect the contract cheating cases. And also the final one is trying to avoid the similarity detection in writing assignments. You might know that lots of higher education institutions currently are being licensed to the similarity detection softwares. Those are the softwares that detect if this text was copied from another student's paper or from the internet sources. But even if the university is licensed to this system, and even if the university can check those cases, sometimes students are trying to avoid this similarity detection, and you can easily find those guides, I mean, the instruction guides that students are producing by themselves and then upload them into the social media. For example, if you go to the YouTube and type there how to avoid plagiarism in certain similarity detection software, then you will find a list of the videos that describe how students can avoid this. So this is something also that needs to be taken into account once we are planning our classes. Okay, I think that I do not want to be very tiring and speaking at all the times. So for this reason, I would like to offer to use this possibility, and I will group you into small groups, let's say into 3 groups with using the Zoom breakout rooms. Let me just check, yes. So in each group, we will have 4 participants. And in these small groups, I would like you to share your ideas, or just imagine that you are a teacher in a class with 30 or 40 people or students, and you have to design an activity, you have to assess them, you have to make an assessment activity. It can be a oral presentation, it can be a writing assignment, it can be a quiz. And the main question is, how will you ensure that the principles of academic integrity are being met? So what will you do in order to make sure that students will write this activity by themselves and with the lower risk of cheating. For this discussion, we can have 10 minutes in a small groups, and after these 10 minutes, we can very quickly summarize with one or two sentences what was the discussion. So let me just use this Zoom breakout rooms, and I will create 3 rooms. So in each room, we will have 4 participants, and you have 10 minutes for this brief discussion. And then we will get back to the main session and sum it up. So now you will see the announcement into the desktop to share, to join these breakout rooms. So I see participants who haven't joined, who hasn't joined the rooms. So you can, you will see the announcement into your desktop to join the Zoom breakout room, and you can join those rooms because we are going to have discussions in a small group. I will just keep repeating that we are doing this group activity. You probably see the announcement that you can join Zoom breakout room, and you can click on that to join the rooms. Okay, so now we're back in the main room. I hope that you had chance to share your ideas. I know that it was quick, but
yes, unfortunately we were not able because it was not 10 minutes. So.
yeah, I know that. Yeah, we had the same problem with the previous group, but that was the time. But we can share that in this group. So I mean, in this main group with all the participants. So if someone wants to share their thoughts, how will you? What is the assessment assignment or assessment activity that you designed in 30, 40 students with 30, 40 students in a group, and what was your practice? How did you ensure yourself that the principles of the academic integrity are met? So if there is any volunteer to share your experience.
It's easier to stop COVID than to find the way. I think so.
Okay, so the easier is to get back to the university. I mean,
yes, it's the shortest way.
The shortest way, yeah, I fully agree with that. But even if we get back to the university, I'm pretty sure that we might have some programs that will stay on distance learning. I mean, because yeah, that might happen as well. Okay, so any other thoughts before I share my presentation once again? So although I have prepared some list of the way out, how can we prevent, or as I have mentioned, there is unfortunately there is not any system that fully guarantees that the assignments are done in accordance with the with these principles of academic integrity, but there are some tools and the ways that will support us to minimize the risks, that will help us to make sure that these activities, both or the exams, are done by the students by themselves. And from the perspective of the learning management system, we have a few advices here that if you're using quizzes, always pay attention to the number of the questions into the question bank, because the more questions you have, the more it will guarantee that students will be given different different cases and they won't have the similar ones. Also, I always advise it to our academic staff to use the different types of the questions. If you are using, for instance, the Moodle as a main platform for your teaching, then you can use the different types of the question instead of all the quiz. Or instead of designing the whole quiz with a multiple choice question, you can use the different forms. As you might know, there is a matching, there is a short answer, there is a true and false, and many other, even the essays. So if you can open the list of the questions, then you will find that many different types and forms of the questions exist. I think it's the list is up to 15, and you can use different type of the questions, because this makes it a bit difficult for our students to cheat. And what I found also was that some of the students are directly copying the text from the question and then trying and paste them into the chat or whatever, and they try to get answers as soon as possible. But if you upload the image instead of text, that might help, because from the image students cannot copy. Once again, this doesn't fully guarantee that they won't cheat, because they can type those words manually by hand, but this will waste your time. And also the time limit is an issue here, because when you have a quiz into the in any system, always use time limit as a tool for this exam. Also, the navigation into the quizzes is an issue, because sometimes it depends on the instructor or on the teacher, of course, but there are many different types of how the quiz can navigate. For example, you can create a quiz that will appear in one page and student can see every question in one page, or you can make the settings in a way that student will see question by question. And also there is possibility that students see one question and then they cannot get back. So this is something that we tried at our university, and at the beginning we got thousands of emails from the students that this is not fair and it's against their rights, but it works, because students cannot get back to the questions, and the system is randomizing the questions. So different students are getting different questions with different numbering. So this might be helpful as well, especially if you have a big groups. For example, I have worked with the teachers who had thousands of students at the same group, so at the same time, I mean. And we always advise them to cover all the students at the same time. If the subject is taught to 1,500 students, try to get them into the exam at the same time. Because if we divide them into smaller groups, and even if we change the questions, the probability that they will try to cheat is increasing. Those who have already written the tests or put the quiz might help those who have not done it yet. So always try to cover the whole group of the students at the same time. Also, you can use the same exam browser, and I will try to demonstrate how to use that. This is a new tool that was implemented into the learning management system. Also, you can use the text similarity detection software. By the way, this is in the majority of cases, this is a paid subscription. So the university has to get license in order to check the similarity detection into the student's paper. But besides this, you as a teacher can detect it. I mean, if you just Google to check plagiarism online free, you will get the list of different tools that are doing it free. Also, they have some restrictions, sometimes the number of the words, sometimes the number of the papers that you can check, but this window is also open and accessible for us. And the last one is usage of synchronous video conferencing tool with screen sharing option. And this is something that one of my colleagues tried as well. And in a smaller groups, it works. In a big groups, it has some problems, because imagine that you have 10 students in a group and you ask them to open their cameras to share the screen. In the Zoom has a possibility to share the screen simultaneously. I mean, 10 students can share the screen at the same time, so everyone can share the screen at the same time. And then the instructor was sitting and was looking at those screens. But it works in a small groups, but it can get very confusing if you have 30, 35 students or more in the group. So it means that you have to look at those screens at the same time. But this was from the technical side. As for the pedagogical side, or from the university's effort, first of all, we need to inform the students. Every guideline or the advices that our European colleagues are giving to us that are to inform our students, that we know that those types of academic misconduct exist, that we know that they will try to do these types and forms, and that we are familiar with that cases, because this might prevent as well. Also, we need to agree on the netiquette in advance. I will get back to the comment that you had, that some of the students are sleeping, some do not open their cameras. And this is, this is reality, but we need to agree on that. And these are more ethical issues, and we need to agree on that well in advance. But even if this agreement, there might be some students who do not pay attention to those details. Also, we need to diversify the assessment methods, forms, and types. And it means that if we have 3 assessments in our course, and all those 3 assessments are writing assignments, then the student might find an easy way out. So instead, I advise you to create, to diversify these assessment methods. For example, the first one, you can have this writing assignment, then the second one can be a quiz, and the last one can be an oral presentation or oral exam or something. So that you have different types, and in any case, you will have possibility to detect or to check whether the students understand the topic or the issue or not. The student support academic services that we mentioned in the beginning. So this is crucially important that the university offers this kind of support to their students. And to provide the individual and timely feedback. This is more on the side of the instructor, because in any case, students are waiting for the feedback from the instructor, and it will be ideally it should be very, very soon after they submit their work. And those systems and tools give us possibility to grade their papers and give the feedback in a timely and individually. So I noticed that we have a question here in the chat: what is the student support academic services? And I will quickly answer to this question. Those are the services that usually is accessible at the library or at the Center of Academic Integrity or at the Center of Academic Writing. So very simple way, it can be service of short training sessions or workshops for students to explain how to get how to create the reference list, how to make the citations properly, or how to use what is the academic style and why it is important to use the academic style in their writing. So these are the small training sessions, we can call it in this way, that supports, that helps students to avoid or to prevent the plagiarism cases. And that can be, or it can also be the information seeking trainings, because we have the problems of getting information, sufficient information, or the sources, scientific sources, and that can be a training that supports students' skills of information seeking. So if you have any questions, yes, I forgot to mention that you can use the chat as well, or you can just unmute yourself and ask those questions. But I want also to quickly move on to this safe exam browser demonstration, which I mentioned. This tool is integrated into the learning management system that the majority of the universities are currently using, and it's Moodle. In our case, at Ilia State University, we are also using this Moodle, and we ask our professors or the teaching staff to use this function, this additional function, if they are having a quiz. So as you might know, I won't spend a lot about explaining what is the Moodle and how it works, because I'm pretty sure that everyone has experience with this. So if we want to add the quiz activity into the Moodle, we are going to the course and add this activity. So add an activity or resource, and we choose the quiz. And this is the settings of how to add the quiz activity. And this is a mandatory that we give the title. As you can see, here we have this name and description, then the timing, then this, which is important, when to start and when to finish. But here what I want to mention is the Safe Exam Browser. This is a function that was added to the newer release of the Moodle. I mean, if your institution is currently using the latest version of the Moodle webpage, then this function is there by default. If it is not there, then your institution is your institution's Moodle webpage is not updated, and then you might ask for this update. So what does this Save Exam Browsers do? So if you from here activate that, so if you say that yes, configure manually, it means that when student open the quiz and click the button of start the quiz, then the quiz will be open in a different browser. All the screen will be frozen, will be freezed, so students cannot click anywhere, but only on the quiz. And after they answer the questions, then and submit the quiz, then the screen will be unfreezed and they can navigate into their computer. So the idea is that if we use this function, students won't be able to either access to different web pages or open different files in their computers when they are doing their quiz. But here again, I need to repeat myself, this does not guarantee 100% protection, because at the same time of having computers, students might have smartphones where they just start typing what they want. But I want to demonstrate how it works. As I've mentioned, from here I activated this function, save exam browser, and then yes, configure manually. It means that additional fields will appear, and in these additional fields I do not change anything, although it has a function to change, but I leave it as it is given in default, by default, and then save changes and return to course. As you can see, this is the exam I created. I will add the questions very quickly, and I will show how it will look like from the student side, because as I have mentioned, so let me just add questions here. Please. So I prepared my quiz, and now I will log into this course as a student in order to demonstrate how it looks like from the student side. As you can see, it says exam. Now I am logged in as a student, and once I click here, as you can see here, it says that I need to launch it in Safe Exam browser. So it means that I need to start quiz with using this function. If I do not have installed this browser in advance, then I can download it here and install. So the only restriction here is that in order to use this function, every student have to download the Safe Exam browser, this program in advance, and they have to install it in their computers. So I will share this link later as well into the email. This is a web page from where you can just download this program. It says Safe Exam browser, and every student who, if we are using this, every student needs to download it. It works on both Windows and iOS systems, so they can easily just install this program, and then when they start writing, they will click on launch exam browser, and this will appear. Unfortunately, it won't appear to you because now my screen is frozen and the quiz is open. So this is how it works. So once again, the idea of using the Safe Exam browser is that if the students are using this, if you design the quiz with using this activity, this function, then student will, once the student open the quiz, the whole computer will be freezed, and the only thing that student can do is to answer the questions. And after they submit the quiz, then the computer will be unfreezed, the screen will be unfreezed, and they can use additional functions and settings. Okay, so I noticed that 1 hour is already gone, so now we can move on to the questions or comments that you might have, anything that you want to ask, or any comments, anything that was unclear. So we can have those questions and comments if there is any. If there are not questions, then from my side, I also wanted to mention that by the end of today, by the end of this day, I will send you the survey, the links to the survey that you can fill. Those are just for the project administration side in order to assess this session, and it will take 5 or 4 minutes from you to just fill those forms. And yeah, if there are not any questions, then I will finish it here. Thank you for your participation. Thank you for your time. And I wish you a nice ending of the day and success in the coming fall semester.
Thank you, Giga. It was very, how to say, interesting, but I think that you have to train all of our, how to say, university colleagues, because I can't explain this because of many reasons. And technically, I think that for students it's too hard to exam this way, because they have not possibility to download this exam browser program. Maybe they can find some, how to say, cases to say no.
Yeah,
It's hard for them. Yes.
Yeah, I fully agree with you, because first we have to communicate with the students to download this browser, and we faced some problems. In some cases, students say that they cannot do that by themselves, and they do not have the proper internet connection, or they do not have the electricity or whatever. Yes, we have this kind of some emails that are reaching to our office as well. But yeah, this is something that might be work in a small groups, not the whole university. And from time to time, we might get some experience and expertise in this. So.
Thank you. Hope we'll meet again and again.
Okay, thank you. Enjoy the rest of
your
your day.
experience.
Yeah.
Sharing with
Bye.
us. Thank you.